When your grandmother dies, you'll probably put her in a wooden box. You'll lower the box into a hole in the ground, throw dirt on it, walk away. You think that's normal. It isn't. For most of human history, putting a body in a box and burying it would have horrified people. Some tribes would have ground your grandmother into ash and drunk her in a soup. Others would have cut her body apart and fed her to vultures. Ancient Egyptians would have pulled her brain out through her nose with a hook. These were not acts of violence, they were acts of love. The way you handle your dead is the newest thing about being human, and it's the most lonely. Picture a funeral. You already know how this goes. Black clothes, a wooden coffin, flowers nobody will see again, a priest or someone reading from a book, people crying quietly. The coffin goes into the ground, everyone leaves. This is what death looks like to you. It feels eternal. It feels like the only way humans have ever done it. It isn't. The modern funeral, the casket, the cemetery, all of it is about 5,000 years old. Before that, humans existed for 200,000 years. For 95% of our time on Earth, none of this existed. No coffins, no funeral homes, no strangers handling the body. What they did instead is still happening in 3 places on Earth, and one place that disappeared 70,000 years ago. If you've ever been to a funeral, you've been to the newest human ceremony, not the oldest one. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, spread across the border of Venezuela and Brazil, live about 35,000 people called the Yanomami. They live in roughly 200 villages. They have been there for thousands of years. The Yanomami do not believe in natural death. To them, when someone dies, it means an enemy shaman from a rival village sent an evil spirit to kill them. So when a Yanomami person dies, the village has work to do. First, they wrap the body in leaves and place it in the forest. For 30 to 45 days, the body decomposes there, watched over by the family. After that period, the bones are collected. They are burned. The ashes and burned bone are ground into a fine powder. Then comes the part you didn't expect. The ashes are mixed into a soup made of fermented bananas, and every close relative, every cousin, every sibling, every child drinks it. They drink her. Without this ritual, they believe, the soul of the dead cannot rest. It wanders forever between worlds. The only way to release her is to take her into yourself. If the person was killed by an enemy tribe, the ashes are kept for years, sometimes decades. Only when the killer is found and avenged is the soup finally consumed. Until then, the soul waits. This is called endocannibalism. It is not eating for food. It is the deepest form of love this culture has. They don't visit a grave. They drink the grave. When a Yanomami grandmother dies, her children do not lay flowers on a stone. They put her inside them. You might think the Yanomami are a strange exception. They aren't. The Wari people in Brazil did the same thing until the 1960s. The Amawasa in Peru ground the bones of their dead into a corn drink and consumed it. Genetic studies have found that the gene that protects humans from prion diseases, the kind you get from eating other human brains, is widespread across all human populations. That gene only spreads when something is killing the people without it. In other words, eating the dead used to be so common across the human species that natural selection adapted us to it. This wasn't a freak ritual. This was an old, normal, universal thing. Now go to Tibet, to the high mountain plateaus where the earth is frozen rock and there are no trees for firewood. Here, for over 2,500 years, people have practiced something called jato. The word means to give to the birds. When someone dies, the body is carried up the mountain at dawn. It is taken to a flat stone platform built specifically for this purpose. There are over 1,000 of these platforms across Tibet. A man called a Rogyapa arrives. The word translates directly to body breaker. He begins his work. With a ritual knife, he opens the body. He cuts the flesh into pieces. The bones he breaks with a hammer until they are powder. He mixes the powder with barley flour. He lights juniper incense. The smoke rises into the cold air, and then the vultures come. Dozens of them, sometimes hundreds. They descend on the platform and they eat everything. The flesh, the powdered bone, the flour. Within one morning, there is nothing left. No bones, no body, nothing. This is essential. If anything remains, they believe, the soul cannot leave. The vultures must finish. The family is not present. Watching is forbidden. The work is done by the Rogyapa alone, in silence, in the cold mountain air. In Tibetan Buddhism, the body after death is empty. It is a vessel. Holding on to it serves nothing, but feeding it to birds, to living creatures who need food, that is generosity. That is the last act of compassion the dead person can perform. Your last gift to the world is your own body, fed to creatures who needed it. 5,000 years ago, in ancient Egypt, the dead were treated differently. They were kept. When someone of status died, their body was taken to an embalming tent. Priests in jackal masks, representing Anubis, the god of mummification, began the work. The first step was the brain. A long iron hook was inserted into the nose. The embalmer pushed it up into the skull. He twisted it. He pulled out the brain in pieces. Then he threw it away. The Egyptians did not preserve the brain. They didn't even think it was important. They thought the brain was just stuffing for the skull. They believed your real self, your soul, your intelligence, your you, lived in the heart. So the heart was the only organ they left inside the body. Everything else came out, but the heart stayed where it was, because that was you. After death, in the underworld, your heart would be placed on a scale. On the other side, a single feather. If your heart was lighter than the feather, you were good, you moved on. If it was heavier, weighed down by your sins, you were destroyed. The Egyptians spent enormous resources preserving their dead because they were certain death wasn't the end. The body needed to be ready for what came next. They threw the brain away. They knew you don't live there. Now we go further back, past human history. Past Homo sapiens, 70,000 years ago, in a cave in what is now Iraqi Kurdistan, a Neanderthal man died. His people did something with his body. The cave is called Shanidar. In the 1950s, an American archaeologist named Ralph Selecki excavated it. He found 10 Neanderthal skeletons. One of them was buried surrounded by pollen from 8 different species of flowers. Selecki realized what he was looking at. He titled his book about the discovery, Shanidar, the first flower people. But here is the part that really matters. In the same cave, Selecki found another Neanderthal skeleton. This one was a man about 40 years old by their standards. He had been blind in one eye. His right arm was withered and useless from a childhood injury. He walked with a severe limp. He could not have hunted. He could not have fought. He could not have provided for himself. He lived to 40. This means his tribe fed him for decades, cared for him, protected him, kept him warm. He was useless by every survival metric, and his people kept him alive anyway. When he died, they put him in the cave with the others. They covered him with flowers. This was 70,000 years ago, before farming, before language as we know it, before Homo sapiens even existed in this part of the world. Grief is older than humanity itself. The need to honor the dead, to mark their passing with something beautiful, it predates us. It belongs to a different species that loved its broken people and laid them down with flowers. 4 places, 4 completely different ways to handle the dead. Notice what they share. The Yanomami physically take the dead into their bodies. The Tibetans physically dismantle the body and watch the birds eat it. The Egyptians physically remove the organs and pack the body with their own hands. The Neanderthals physically buried their broken with flowers they gathered themselves. Every ancient practice involved direct physical contact with the body. Every ritual took time, 30 days, an entire morning, 70 days, weeks of mourning. Every method happened inside the community. Family did the work or watched it being done. This was the human default for 200,000 years. Slow, tactile, present, together. 5,000 years ago we invented something new. A box, a hole, strangers. Today in most of the modern world, here is what happens when your grandmother dies. You call professionals. Strangers arrive within 30 minutes. They take her body away. You will not see it again for days. The body is taken to a place you have never been, a funeral home. Other strangers wash her, embalm her, dress her, put makeup on her face. You are not there. You don't help. You see her body for 1 hour in a casket looking like a doll. Then strangers carry the casket. Strangers lower it. Strangers fill the hole. Most people in the modern world have never touched a dead body, not their mother, not their father, not anyone they loved. For 200,000 years, every human touched the bodies of their dead. They washed them, they wrapped them, they burned them, or fed them, or buried them with their own hands. We outsourced all of it. There is research now showing that grief in modern Western cultures takes longer to resolve than grief in traditional cultures. Modern people stay sad for 5 to 7 years on average. Yanomami grief lasts as long as the soup lasts. Tibetan grief lasts as long as the vultures take. They close the loop. We don't. You outsource the most important moment of your life to strangers. This isn't an argument for cannibalism. It's not a recommendation to feed your grandmother to birds. It's not a call to abandon funeral homes. It is just information about what humans actually did for almost all of our time as a species. The common thread across 200,000 years was simple. Participate, take time, touch the body, stay close. What we removed from death is exactly what made it bearable. The participation, the time, the touching, the closeness. This is probably why we are so bad at death, why we avoid talking about it, why we don't know what to say at funerals, why grief lingers for years. When your grandmother dies, you can do a small thing that is almost forgotten. Be near her body longer, touch her, help wash her hands. Don't hand her to strangers in the first hour. The dead deserve your hands. This is the oldest human thing you can do. If you want more videos that uncover the systems quietly running your life, subscribe. There's a lot more buried in being human.